My presentation is going to be on the narrative paradigm, the idea that man is a storytelling animal. Everyone listens to stories, everyone tells stories, and everyone has a story. And I think that makes this a very appealing theory. Walter Fisher developed the narrative paradigm from the 70s to the 80s. He was interested in countering Aristotle's argument that man is the rational animal. As he looked about him, what Fisher saw was that people use stories to talk to each other much more than they used rational arguments, and that stories were more convincing. Fisher believed stories are central to the human experience. Stories are how we make sense of our experience and how we communicate our values to our children and to each other. The narrative paradigm takes an interpretive approach. Researchers want to know how people perceive a story. They want to know if people think the speaker is believable, and they want to know why they think the speaker is believable. Stories evoke an emotional response, and often we find the characters relatable, and that could be why stories are so memorable. We might not remember a math problem, we might not remember the steps in a logical argument, but we will probably remember a story. And so stories become very useful as a way to communicate with each other. The narrative paradigm is the idea that stories are our road into the world, and our experiences in the world make us want to tell more stories. It's a very robust field of communication studies. The applications include new journalism, psychology, literature, of course, education, strategic communication, health communication, and organizational studies. The narrative paradigm can help us understand everything from urban legends on the net to ancient stories from other cultures to understanding how we see brands the way we do. It's really become a cornerstone in marketing. Every day, someone is going to use a story to sell you something. If we use the 7 theory evaluation criteria, this is what we find. Narrative paradigm has a really wide scope because it seeks to explain all human communication and the human experience. It has logical consistency as the parts of the theory fit together. There are few parts, and so they don't contradict each other. It has excellent parsimony. It's a simple theory. Humans are storytellers, and our stories reflect our world, and they create our world. It has a lot of utility, as we saw in the last slide. There's a lot of fields of practical use, and there's a lot of scholarly fields that use the narrative paradigm. It might not be strong on testability. We know stories are effective, but it's difficult to design tests to measure that or to explain why they're effective. It has excellent heurism because it has sparked research in over a dozen fields. But above all, it really stands up to the test of time. That's because telling stories is universal in all cultures. We can assume people have always told stories, and they always will. So the interest in the narrative paradigm is as alive now as it was in the 70s and 80s when Fisher developed the theory. There are several new approaches to it. One of them looks at stories and power, because the storyteller has power over the listener. And this has led people to be interested in understanding the stories of outsiders and the stories that we haven't heard, the stories that aren't being told. Two contemporary scholars working in this field are William Kirkwood and Scott Stroud. Kirkwood noted that Fisher's logic of good reasons was grounded in the values of any current society. Fisher was interested in how stories reflect the world as it is. Kirkwood is interested in how stories can be used to change societies, how stories can shape the world that is to come, while Stroud is extending the narrative paradigm by using insights from the ancient Indian texts. My critique of the theory is that mankind is indeed the storytelling animal, but mankind is also the rational animal. We really have both aspects to our brains and to our psyches. We use logic in our lives, and we certainly use it in building our technologically advanced world. Some arguments are best made rationally. We know all cultures have told stories. Anytime we find evidence of human culture, we find evidence of human stories. For example, in the French caves that date back 30,000 years, the drawings on the wall are telling us stories. We can assume that humans will always tell stories and will always be interested in understanding why stories move us and how stories change us. That means they will always be interested in the narrative paradigm. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation. I hope you learned something.